here. I'm glad you're back. We kind of had a crappy week. There's a lot of rumors going around about Maddie and Melissa leaving. Melissa hasn't committed to going or staying.
I will explain the gossip. Never miss this video. Please subscribe to the channel. From the moment Dance Moms premiered, it was obvious that two little girls had Abby Lee Miller's heart, Maddie and Mackenzie Ziegler. While the ALDC was full of talent, it was Maddie's polished technique and Mackenzie's bubbly charm that instantly separated them from the rest. Abby didn't just have favorites, she had the favorites. And it was clear to the other moms that the Ziegler sisters were going to be a problem. Maddie was the golden child. Trained to be a technician, a storyteller, and a winning machine, she rarely came in anything but first place. She was the face of the ALDC, both in the studio and at competitions. Abby poured her heart, soul, and choreography into Maddie. But while fans celebrated her talent, the favoritism caused major tension. The team wasn't a level playing field when Abby was using every opportunity to launch Maddie into stardom. Mackenzie, on the other hand, was initially seen as the cute sidekick, the little sister tagging along for the ride. She had personality in spades, delivering cheeky solos like Mousetrap and Lemonade, always with a smile. But as she got older, it became clear that Mackenzie wasn't content living in Maddie's shadow. She wanted to be taken seriously, and she had something to prove. The early seasons were filled with classic Maddie and Mackenzie moments, winning solos, sister duets, and adorable interviews. But beneath the surface, the seeds of future drama were already being planted. Other moms began to resent Melissa for her close relationship with Abby, and the girls, especially Mackenzie, started to show signs of pressure and burnout. By season 3, things were heating up. Maddie was still dominating, but it was coming at a cost. The pressure to be perfect was clearly affecting her. Tears in rehearsals, breakdowns backstage. This was a child pushed to her limit. Meanwhile, Mackenzie's journey took a sharp turn. She wanted to sing, to dance, to be goofy and glamorous. Abby didn't always support that. Abby had a vision for each girl, and when they deviated, she lashed out. Maddie wasn't allowed to falter. Mackenzie wasn't allowed to grow on her own terms. Their mom, Melissa, tried to keep peace with Abby while also managing two rising stars. But her loyalty to Abby started to backfire. The resentment from the team grew. Chloe, Kendall, Nia, and Paige all had their moments, but they were always in Maddie's shadow. Every time Maddie got a solo over another dancer, the team rolled their eyes. Every time Abby picked Mackenzie for a feature, the moms whispered. Melissa was playing both sides, sweet to the moms, loyal to Abby. It couldn't last forever. The Ziegler girls may have seemed untouchable, but their rise came with a spotlight that burned. This wasn't just dance anymore. It was pressure, competition, and a ticking clock until something had to give. And soon, all of that tension would come to a head. Because the girls who were once Abby's crown jewels, they were about to walk away. For years, Mackenzie was treated like Maddie's shadow, cute, small, and always second in line. But around season 4, something started to shift. Mackenzie was growing up, and growing into her own kind of star. No longer just the baby of the team. She was pushing back, showing confidence, and proving she could stand on her own 2 feet. Let's not forget the moment Mackenzie transformed into her alter ego, Maxie. That first music video? It was a viral moment. Kenzie went from backup dancer to budding pop princess almost overnight. And Abby? She didn't know how to handle it. While Abby wanted her to stick to the cutesy routines and comedic solos, Kenzie had other ideas. Cue the tension. Kenzie wanted to perform edgy numbers. She wanted to sing. She wanted more say in her career. But Abby didn't like losing control, especially not over a Ziegler. The more Mackenzie pushed for independence, the more Abby tried to box her in. And the moms noticed. Melissa started promoting Maxie's music behind the scenes, booking events, and managing photo shoots, without always clearing it with Abby. That triggered a familiar pattern. Abby snapping, accusing Melissa of being disloyal, and punishing Mackenzie by sidelining her in group routines. But here's what Abby never understood. Mackenzie thrived under pressure. The more she was underestimated, the harder she worked. Her gymnastic skills were unmatched. Her stage presence? Electric. And when given the chance, she could steal a show from anyone, including her big sister. That infamous JoJo versus Mackenzie showdown only fueled the fire. JoJo brought flash. Mackenzie brought fight. While JoJo was loud and confident, Mackenzie had a quiet grit. And when she started landing solos again, especially those high-energy hip-hop and jazz numbers, it became clear Mackenzie wasn't going to be overshadowed anymore. Melissa was torn. She was proud of Mackenzie but stuck in Abby's web of control. She wanted both daughters to shine, but every decision she made risked Abby's wrath. And yet, slowly but surely, Mackenzie started writing her own chapter. By the time season 5 rolled around, fans were calling for more Mackenzie. More solos. More Maxi music. More independence. And the louder the cheers got, the more obvious it became. Mackenzie was no longer just Maddie's little sister. She was a star, and she was just getting started. From her earliest moments on the show, Maddie Ziegler was more than just a standout dancer. She was a brand in the making. Every facial expression, every pirouette, every tear was scrutinized not just by Abby Lee Miller, but by millions of viewers across the world. The pressure to be perfect wasn't just internal. It came from every direction. Abby made it clear from day one. Maddie was her ticket to fame. She got the best choreography, the most solos, and the top billing in almost every group number. And while Maddie delivered time and time again, the cost of that pressure began to show. Behind the flawless routines were sleepless nights, panic before competitions, and a level of perfectionism that no child should have to maintain. Maddie was expected to win. Always. A second-place finish meant disappointment. A misstep in rehearsal meant a meltdown. Abby didn't just nurture Maddie. She demanded greatness. And when Maddie cried, the cameras captured every moment. But the outside world was just as intense. Maddie became the fan favorite, the face of dance moms, and soon a media darling. With her came the critics. Social media dissected her every move. Was she too robotic? Was she too privileged? Was she complicit in Abby's favoritism? It wasn't fair. Maddie was a child placed in an adult world, carrying the weight of a dance empire on her shoulders. She couldn't be a regular kid. And when she began branching out, modeling, acting, performing in Sia's music videos, the line between dancer and celebrity blurred. Sia changed everything. The moment Maddie starred in the Chandelier music video, she was no longer just a reality TV kid. She was a global sensation. And with that fame came more travel, more work, and less time at the ALDC. This didn't sit well with Abby. While she loved the fame Maddie brought the studio, she hated losing control. Every outside opportunity Maddie accepted without Abby's involvement felt like betrayal. And that's when the tension exploded. Suddenly, Maddie was missing from episodes. Abby was making shady comments. The other girls and moms were asking questions. Was Maddie still part of the team? Was she outgrowing the ALDC? The truth was clear. Maddie was outgrowing the team. And everyone knew it. Melissa had spent years juggling loyalty and love, playing peacemaker between Abby's demands and her daughter's needs. But as Maddie's star skyrocketed and Mackenzie found her own rhythm, Melissa started to realize Abby's vision no longer aligned with their future. There was a time when Melissa would nod along with everything Abby said, even when it meant staying silent while the other moms lashed out. But now, the cracks were showing. She stopped defending Abby so fiercely. She skipped a few rehearsals. She quietly started building her daughters' careers outside the studio, knowing Abby would see it as betrayal. The final straw wasn't one big moment. It was 1,000 little ones. Every time Abby punished Mackenzie for doing a music video. Every time she made snide comments about Maddie missing rehearsals. Every time the other moms looked at Melissa like she was choosing sides. And in a way, she was. Melissa began pulling back, emotionally and logistically. She booked meetings with agents. She organized travel for Maddie's gigs. She negotiated Mackenzie's branding deals. She was no longer just a dance mom. She was a momager, and her priority was clear, her girls. But walking away from Abby Lee Miller was never going to be simple. Abby had built a career on control. And the idea of her 2 prize students leaving the ALDC, her ALDC, was a threat she didn't take lightly. When rumors started swirling that Maddie and Mackenzie were leaving the show, Abby denied it. Then she deflected. Then she exploded. In true Dance Moms fashion, the tension became another storyline, one that blurred the lines between real life and reality TV. Melissa tried to stay graceful. She avoided the blow-ups. She kept her plans quiet. But when the news finally broke, Maddie and Mackenzie were leaving the ALDC and Dance Moms for good. It sent shockwaves through the team. And through Abby. Abby felt blindsided. Betrayed. She had invested years in the Ziegler girls. She didn't just choreograph their routines, she built their reputations. And now they were leaving her behind? For Melissa, it wasn't about betrayal. It was about survival. Her daughters were growing up, and the show was no longer a safe space. Abby's moods were unpredictable. The competition environment was toxic. And the opportunities outside of Dance Moms were simply too big to ignore. Still, Melissa wasn't immune to the heartbreak. The ALDC was a second home. The moms were like sisters, even with all the drama. Saying goodbye wasn't just a career move. It was the end of an era. And no matter how ready she was to leave, Melissa knew that Abby would never forgive her. The stage was set. The team was unraveling. And the two girls who had once defined the ALDC were getting ready for their final bow. The writing had been on the wall for a while, but when the news finally broke that Maddie and Mackenzie were leaving the ALDC, it still shook the team and the fandom to its core. Rumors had swirled for months. Absences, cryptic interviews, and Melissa's vague answers during filming only added fuel to the fire. But when Melissa finally confirmed that her daughters would be leaving at the end of season 6, it was official. The era of the Ziegler sisters at the ALDC was ending. The reaction was immediate. Fans were devastated. The team was blindsided. And Abby? Abby was furious. In typical Abby fashion, the announcement wasn't met with grace. It was met with spite. She accused Melissa of being sneaky, of planning the exit behind her back. She questioned the girls' loyalty, their dedication, and their futures without her guidance. And while some of it may have come from hurt, most of it came from pride. Abby couldn't believe that the girls she had poured everything into were choosing to walk away. The tension bled into rehearsals. Suddenly, Maddie and Mackenzie were getting fewer corrections, colder shoulders, and backhanded compliments. Abby started giving more attention to other dancers, almost as if she was prepping for life post-Ziegler. The team was caught in the crossfire, unsure how to act around the girls who had once been the heart of the ALDC. But even amid the chaos, Maddie and Mackenzie kept dancing. Maddie delivered breathtaking solos that felt like parting gifts. Mackenzie continued to charm with her upbeat energy. They smiled through the tension, but the toll was obvious. Maddie looked exhausted. Mackenzie looked over it. Melissa looked ready to be done. One of the most emotional moments came during one of Maddie's final solos. The choreography was beautiful, but the meaning behind it was even more powerful. It was as if she was dancing out all the pressure, the love, the exhaustion, and the goodbye. Abby cried. The moms cried. Even the girls, despite the drama, seemed genuinely heartbroken. Because no matter how messy things had gotten, one thing was true: Maddie and Mackenzie were the ALDC. Their departure marked the end of an era. And no one, not even Abby, was ready for what came next. The final episodes of Dance Moms Season 6 felt like a countdown. Every group number, every solo, every confessional, it was all leading up to the inevitable farewell. Maddie and Mackenzie were leaving. And although the show had always revolved around intense drama and fierce rivalries, this time, it was all about emotion. Abby may have resisted the reality at first, but when the moment actually arrived, even she couldn't hold it together. The final performance weekend for Maddie and Mackenzie was bittersweet. Abby assigned Maddie a solo that felt like a tribute to everything she had become under the ALDC banner. Elegant, powerful, unforgettable. For Mackenzie, it was a bubbly, fun routine that captured her unique energy. The other girls were supportive, though their feelings were mixed. Some were sad. Some were anxious about how the team would function without Maddie front and center. And some were already eyeing the vacated spotlight. But in the end, they knew they were saying goodbye to more than just two teammates. They were saying goodbye to a shared history, one that had defined the ALDC from day one. The final group number was The Moment. Titled Together We Stand, the piece was emotional from the very first beat. It wasn't flashy or over-choreographed. It was about connection. The girls danced not just with their technique, but with their hearts. Maddie and Mackenzie were front and center, but the entire team shared the stage like a family saying goodbye. Even Abby, who had spent weeks deflecting her emotions with sarcasm and shade, broke down. As the final pose hit and the audience erupted in applause, Abby clapped through tears. In her confessional, she admitted it. She had poured everything into Maddie, and now Maddie was leaving. "I feel like I'm losing a piece of myself," she said. Backstage, the hugs were real. The tears weren't for the cameras. They were for the years of rehearsals, competitions, flights, wins, losses, and memories. Melissa cried like a mom sending her daughters off to college. Kenzie, usually the bubbly baby of the group, sobbed in her sister's arms. Maddie tried to hold it together, but when Abby pulled her in for a rare, heartfelt hug, it was over. "You're gonna be a star," Abby whispered. And she was right. Maddie and Mackenzie walked out of the ALDC that day with more than just their dance bags. They walked out with legacies. No matter how the show moved on, nothing could erase the impact they'd had. For 6 seasons, they'd carried the team, endured Abby's toughest critiques, and grown up in front of millions of viewers. Their goodbye wasn't just a farewell to Pittsburgh or the ALDC. It was a farewell to a chapter that had defined their childhoods. A farewell to Abby's world. A farewell to Dance Moms. But it was also a beginning, one that would launch Maddie into global fame and Mackenzie into a new era of pop stardom. Because while the ALDC had been their stage, the world was waiting for their next act. Once Maddie and Mackenzie said their goodbyes to the ALDC, the world opened up, and not just figuratively. From Hollywood red carpets to international tours, their lives took a massive turn. But leaving the ALDC didn't mean leaving behind the pressure, the scrutiny, or the emotional baggage that came with growing up on reality TV. If anything, things only got more complicated. Maddie's meteoric rise. Maddie's next move was immediate and jaw-dropping. She became the muse of pop star Sia. Her performance in the Chandelier music video went viral within days, cementing her status not just as a competition dancer, but as a true artist. Suddenly, Maddie Ziegler wasn't just Abby's favorite. She was everybody's favorite. Her collaborations with Sia continued with Elastic Heart, Big Girls Cry, and multiple live performances across the globe, including the Grammy Awards, Ellen, and Saturday Night Live. She even performed with Sia at Coachella, barefoot in front of thousands. Maddie had graduated from the competition stage to the world stage, with all eyes watching. But the fame came at a cost. In interviews, Maddie later admitted that the environment at ALDC, especially Abby's harsh teaching style, left scars. She revealed how she had to unlearn fear-based dancing and how difficult it was to shake the ingrained need to be perfect. She wasn't just healing her body from years of intense training, she was healing her mind. Mackenzie's pop star pivot. Mackenzie, meanwhile, wasn't trying to follow in Maddie's footsteps. She was carving her own path. Rebranding herself as Kenzie, she stepped into the music world, releasing pop songs that quickly gained traction with Gen Z fans. Tracks like It's a Girl Party and later Breathe showed off her bubbly personality and growing artistry. Kenzie toured, dropped music videos, and built a major social media following. And just like her sister, she was learning to express herself outside of the tight mold the ALDC had put her in. Kenzie wasn't just Maddie's little sister anymore. She was becoming a full-blown influencer, performer, and brand. But she, too, had to process the aftermath of being on Dance Moms so young. In later interviews, she shared how she didn't always feel taken seriously and often felt compared to Maddie. By fans, by producers, and even by Abby. The pressure to stand out on her own terms was real, and it took time for her to shake the shadows of the past. Cutting ties with Abby. Though the Zieglers credited Abby for jump-starting their careers, their post-show relationship with her took a nosedive. Abby, hurt and bitter about their departure, gave many interviews shading their decision to leave and questioning their loyalty. Maddie and Melissa remained quiet for a while, but eventually, Maddie opened up. She described how being under Abby's control felt toxic, saying she was constantly afraid of disappointing her. In 2022, Maddie told Cosmopolitan that she hadn't spoken to Abby in years and that she didn't plan to. "I was stressed at 11 years old, which shouldn't happen," she said. "She was distraught when we left. But we did what was best for us." Kenzie echoed those sentiments, revealing in a podcast that she struggled to even watch Dance Moms clips now. "It's weird seeing myself cry on TV at 8 years old," she said. "We didn't really have a normal childhood." Their honesty was raw and healing. For years, viewers had watched them excel under pressure, but now they were reclaiming their stories on their own terms. From reality TV to real life. Outside of dance and music, the sisters grew into social media moguls and style icons. Maddie booked acting roles in films like The Book of Henry and music and became a fixture at Fashion Week. She even joined the judging panel on So You Think You Can Dance, coming full circle from contestant to expert. Kenzie focused on her music and YouTube career, releasing EPs and maintaining a massive online presence. Both girls were able to break free from the Dance Moms Kid label, and that wasn't easy. They didn't just grow up on camera. They evolved past it. Their message to the fans. Today, both Maddie and Kenzie have complicated but grateful relationships with their Dance Moms past. They've acknowledged how the show gave them visibility, training, and incredible opportunities, but they've also been candid about the emotional toll it took. Their stories have inspired a generation of young dancers to prioritize mental health and self-worth over competition medals. And while Abby may still claim credit for making them stars, Maddie and Mackenzie have shown that they were always the ones holding the spotlight. They just needed the space and the freedom to step into it. When Maddie and Mackenzie first appeared on Dance Moms, no one could have predicted that two sisters from Pittsburgh would become global icons. But now, years after leaving the ALDC, their influence still echoes on dance stages, social media feeds, red carpets, and in the hearts of fans who grew up watching them. Their legacy isn't just about trophies or television moments. It's about transformation, resilience, and redefining what it means to be a young performer in the spotlight. The blueprint for dance stardom. Maddie Ziegler didn't just become famous. She redefined fame for dancers. Before her, dance prodigies might have won titles or gone viral in brief clips, but Maddie's presence in Sia's videos changed the public's understanding of what dance could be. It wasn't just about turns and technique. It was about emotion, interpretation, and artistry. She became the blueprint. The girl every dancer looked up to. The one every dance teacher referenced. You can't scroll through TikTok or Instagram without seeing dancers mimicking her iconic moves from Chandelier or Elastic Heart. Her impact created a bridge between the commercial dance world and pop culture, and it's still standing strong. Maddie also proved that dancers could pivot. From viral performer to fashion muse, from movie actress to published author, she showed that dance could be a springboard, not a box. Kenzie's influence, confidence, creativity, and crossover power. Mackenzie's journey is equally powerful. She may have started as the cute little sister, but Kenzie transformed into a teen pop sensation with her own loyal following. Her music, her social presence, her openness with fans, she gave Gen Z a role model who wasn't perfect but relatable. Kenzie's success helped shatter the idea that there's only one path to stardom. While Maddie went high fashion in Hollywood, Kenzie showed the power of self-branding, relatability, and creating her own lane. Her style, music, and confidence influenced an entire wave of creators and performers who saw themselves in her. And she did it all while standing in her sister's shadow and ultimately stepping out of it. From child stars to culture shapers, the Zieglers helped turn Dance Moms from a niche reality show into a cultural phenomenon. They were more than just competitors. They were characters, role models, cautionary tales, and inspiration all at once. They grew up in front of our eyes and made sure they outgrew the show without losing their authenticity. Their candid reflections about the pressures of fame, the trauma of reality TV, and the need for independence struck a chord. They've become advocates, whether intentionally or not, for boundaries, self-worth, and creative freedom. That's a legacy few reality stars can claim. The ALDC's everlasting impact. Let's be honest, the ALDC will always be part of their story. The studio, the pyramid, the screaming matches, all of it shaped who they are. But what makes Maddie and Kenzie's legacy so powerful is that they didn't just survive it. They transcended it. They turned Abby's often brutal training into a foundation for excellence. But they also walked away when they knew it was time, something that takes immense courage when you're that young, that famous, and that tightly tethered to a brand. Inspiring the next generation. Every young dancer today who dreams of stardom owes something, knowingly or not, to Maddie and Kenzie. Their stories live on not just in reruns and YouTube clips, but in the styles, aspirations, and resilience of the next generation. They've proven that success doesn't come from winning every week on a pyramid. It comes from standing tall when it counts, speaking out when it's hard, and growing even when millions are watching. After years of triumphs, tears, and tension, the decision for Maddie and Mackenzie to leave the ALDC wasn't sudden. It was inevitable. But what exactly pushed the Ziegler sisters and Melissa to finally step away from the studio that had been their home for so long? Let's dive into the behind-the-scenes drama, the breaking points, and the truths that fans didn't fully see at the time. The pressure cooker environment. The ALDC was never a gentle place. Abby Lee Miller was a fierce coach who demanded perfection, and she wasn't shy about calling out dancers or moms when she thought standards weren't being met. For Maddie and Mackenzie, this meant a constant pressure cooker of rehearsals, competition stress, and emotional strain. While both girls were incredibly talented, the environment began to wear on them. Maddie's breakdowns during rehearsals were no secret, and Mackenzie's frustration with limited creative freedom only grew louder. It was clear, the pressure to maintain the status quo was becoming unbearable. Abby's increasing control. By season 5, Abby's grip on the team was tighter than ever. She controlled everything: costumes, choreography, solos, and even the girls' outside opportunities. When Maddie started booking major projects outside the ALDC, Abby felt she was losing control. Melissa began to clash with Abby more frequently, especially as she pushed for her daughters to have outside careers. Abby's responses ranged from passive-aggressive comments to openly sidelining Maddie and Mackenzie in group dances. The tension reached a breaking point when Abby demanded that Maddie and Mackenzie prioritize the ALDC over any outside work, a demand that didn't align with their growing ambitions. The moms' growing frustration. Other moms on the team were also frustrated by the favoritism shown to the Zieglers. Chloe's mom, Christy, was vocal about feeling her daughter was being overlooked. Kelly and Holly echoed similar concerns, feeling the team was no longer a supportive environment but a battleground. Melissa found herself caught in the crossfire, defending her daughters but trying not to burn bridges. The fractures in team unity were widening, and the atmosphere became increasingly toxic. The breaking point. The pyramid drama. One of the most infamous moments came during the pyramid reveal, a symbolic hierarchy of the dancers based on Abby's current favorites. Maddie and Mackenzie were often at the top, but cracks appeared. When Maddie was suddenly placed lower than usual, fans saw her visible distress. Mackenzie's spot became uncertain as Abby began favoring newer dancers. This public display of Abby's changing loyalties shocked everyone. The pyramid drama wasn't just about rankings. It was a sign that Abby's patience was wearing thin, and the Ziegler sisters were no longer untouchable. Melissa's tough choice. In the end, Melissa had to choose what was best for her daughters. Staying at the ALDC meant continuing to endure emotional strain and limited freedom. Leaving meant stepping into the unknown but gaining control over their futures. The decision to leave was heartbreaking but empowering. It marked the end of an era, but also the beginning of new opportunities. Maddie and Mackenzie were no longer just ALDC dancers. They were artists ready to chart their own paths. Leaving the ALDC was not just an exit. It was a launching pad for Maddie and Mackenzie's evolving careers and identities. Free from the intense spotlight of Abby Lee Miller's studio, the Ziegler sisters embraced new opportunities and challenges that would shape their futures forever. Maddie's meteoric rise beyond dance moms. Maddie didn't just leave the ALDC. She stepped into a global stage. Her work with pop icon Sia skyrocketed her fame overnight, transforming her from a reality TV dancer into an internationally recognized performer and actress. From starring in multiple Sia videos like Elastic Heart and Big Girls Cry to modeling for major fashion campaigns, Maddie's career expanded in ways fans only dreamed of during her Dance Moms days. She proved that she was more than just a dancer. She was a multi-talented artist capable of captivating audiences worldwide. Mackenzie's pop star journey. Mackenzie's departure also marked a turning point in her career. While still a dancer at heart, she doubled down on her music, launching a pop career as Mackenzie. With catchy singles, vibrant music videos, and tours, Mackenzie cultivated a fan base independent of her Dance Moms fame. She also showed her versatility through acting and brand partnerships. Her bubbly personality and positive image made her a role model for young fans, and she worked hard to craft an identity separate from her older sister's shadow. A new relationship with dance. Though no longer under Abby's thumb, both sisters never abandoned dance. They continued training, performing, and innovating on their own terms. Maddie took on roles in Broadway and TV, blending dance with acting. Mackenzie experimented with choreography and blended dance styles in her music. Dance became a joyful pursuit again, no longer a source of stress, but a form of expression and creativity. The family's evolving dynamic. Melissa's role shifted from managing two dancers under one roof to supporting two independent young women chasing their dreams. She balanced protecting her daughters with giving them freedom to grow and make mistakes. The family's bond grew stronger as they navigated the ups and downs of fame together. Melissa also made peace with Abby's departure from the show, focusing instead on nurturing her daughter's happiness and health. Fans' reactions and legacy. Fans had mixed emotions about the Ziegler sisters leaving the ALDC. Some felt nostalgic, missing the early days of Dance Moms when Maddie and Mackenzie were the heart of the show. Others applauded their courage to leave a toxic environment and admired their success beyond reality TV. Their legacy on Dance Moms remains undeniable. Maddie and Mackenzie redefined what it meant to be young stars in a competitive, high-pressure dance world.